Welcome back. I'm Michael Bork, and this is the first instructional video of the Bettermental blog video series. We will start our examination of mindset, or how the processes within us translate into our external realities. There's so much to cover on this subject, and more things are constantly being discovered and understood, but we'll look at just the basics for now. The first thing we need to establish is the understanding that if you're not moving forward, actively growing, so to speak, you are in the process of falling back, which leads to change of form, which is our active term for the transition of death. In his groundbreaking book, The Biology of Belief, Dr. Bruce Lipton examines the limited states of a cell which make up our entire bodies in one form or another. Through exhaustive investigation, he was able to prove that our cells are either in a state of growth or protection, but rarely at rest. The first result he found was the action of cells to move towards nutrients and likewise retreat from harmful environments, thus establishing their understanding of what is positive or negative for their continued existence. This was proven again and again, regardless of the size of the community of cells, whether a single cell or a multicellular organism such as a human being. However, he found a biological footnote to these actions, namely, they can't happen at the same time. An organism can either be growing or protecting itself, but not both at the same time. This is completely understandable when we think of someone running away from a danger. There is no time to eat or otherwise replenish ourselves until it is imperative to do so in order to continue the state of protection. Both the state of growth and protection need energy to sustain themselves, and the body will protect itself before consideration of growth. This is mainly because growth requires a communication between the growing organism and its environment to allow for the transition of either sustenance or information. In a state of protection, the walls of communications are shut down against the perceived threat, thus not allowing for sustenance or information to pass through. Additionally, the growth state not only requires energy to sustain and grow, it is also producing energy. Therefore, the longer we stay in a protective state, the more energy is being used to keep us there, and no new energy is being produced to sustain growth. Given enough time without growth, the organism will expel all its energy and cease its function. It will die. Luckily, not all of our 50 million or so cells need to be in the same state at the same time. The proportion of cells either in the growth state or the protection state is dependent on the severity of the perceived threat. The perception of the external threat is decided through the nervous system. Any threat from our surrounding environment is evaluated by the HPA axis, or hypothalamus pituitary adrenal chain. The hypothalamus receives and evaluates the potential threat and alerts the pituitary through a biochemical agent called CRF, which in turn releases a chemical into the bloodstream called ACTH that acts on the adrenal gland, secreting adrenal hormones that tell the body to restrict the blood flow to the digestive organs and instead concentrate the energy-charged blood to be directed to the limbs for the fight or flight response. If no threats perceived, this group is non-active and the organism directs its energy via the blood flow towards the internal organs, which are the instruments that produce practically all the body's growth. The internal protection system is the immune system, which fights against bacteria and viruses. This system is secondary in that in the event of an external threat, such as being stalked by an animal, it would do us no good to have to deal with a bad case of diarrhea while we're trying to escape becoming lunch. Therefore, while your body is dealing with an external threat, or even what you perceive as a threat, your body shuts down, its internal auto repair system until the external threat has been dealt with. As well, the activation of the HPA system interferes with our higher brain function in order to give more energy to the hindbrain where the survival instincts are stored. This can clearly be seen in situations when people are nervous. They simply don't do as well as when they're calm and confident. So in conclusion, stress in the form of perceived threat from external influences, whether real or imagined, is detrimental to the internal organs and their growth-producing functions, the disease-fighting autoimmune system, and the ability to think clearly. And here's the thing. The stress doesn't have to be as dire as a life or death situation. Many seemingly innocent situations are responsible for stress hormone release, such as preparing for an exam, a race, a first date, driving in heavy traffic, or dealing with a belligerent family member, etc. Generally speaking, a lot of our daily lives are spent in an anticipatory state, inducing small amounts of the stress that starts the HPA response. This constant state of low-level stress induces problems, or rather inhibits our bodies from operating as they should, and thus we cannot grow properly, repair ourselves, or effectively use our higher brain functions, and instead diminish. There's a lot of evidence now supporting stress as a contributing factor in mental health issues, which seems obvious, but many people don't see why. Most people living in the modern age would consider everyday stress as a normal factor of life, and while it may be, so is garbage, but we all consciously deal with that at a much more effective level than we do with our own stress. So as this episode of the Bettermental blog comes to a close, please understand that your stress is the most likely instigator of your problems. From illness and or weakness, to your frustrations at not being able to progress in your life. It's not enough to want to get better. It's also necessary to first eliminate those perceived threats coming in from the world around you that are preventing your body and mind from becoming more. As we continue in this series, we will show you ways of reducing your stress and allowing your body to perform its proper function, elevating you to all you can be. However, now that you know what's causing the problem, it's entirely your own responsibility to deal with it. No amount of education will serve you if you don't take action on the new knowledge. To this end, I humbly suggest that you start taking account of any and all stress-producing elements in your life, regardless of how insignificant they may seem. After all, a drop of water won't fill a bucket, but a lot of drops of water will. Until next time, learn to accept the negatives in your life in preparation to diminish their importance. Good luck, leave some feedback, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.